Hi, I'm Steven, and I make fonts as Arrow Type. Thanks for joining today. Today, we are going to do a little bit of a different video. Often, I will kind of essentially record myself or almost stream type design, uh, and I do usually not live stream it because I think it's more useful if I edit it a little bit and then share it later. But today I'm going to be telling you about a tool that I'm really excited is once again really useful after a period of not being useful. So I'll get right into it. This is Typex. It's a Chrome extension, a browser extension that allows you to customize the fonts on pretty much any web page. So there's a switch. You can turn it on. By default, it shows a web page with the font recursive, which is one I designed in the past. And you can see that it's possible to control the font a little bit extra. So by default, it picks up like regular and bold styles. But for instance, we could click down here and really crank the weight up if we wanted to. Or we could make it monospace in this particular variable font, which is kind of fun. If it's a variable font, you can also select any of the styles within it, the preset instances. So that's pretty nice. Or you can go back to inherit page styles to see it. Hey, just cutting in later after watching this back a little bit and realizing it's also a good time to say that you can change to any font on your system. You can load them in or you can pull them up. So for instance, let's go to Roboto Serif. We can see the family in that font, or you can even load in a family, which is really cool. So let's say you've got your Finder here, and we'll drag in Curios, for instance. Yeah, so more on this later, but it's not only something that works with recursive because there wouldn't be much point to that. The power here is that you can use any font on almost any website. So back to the full video now. If you want it, you can get to the Chrome Web Store and search it. It's just called Typex. I'll put the link in the description and you can install it with the button that I think would be right here. You can also see its code. It's an open source extension and you can read more about how to use it and the history, the credits. Thank you to Google Fonts for supporting it basically originally and then also supporting kind of a revival of it this fall. Thanks to Simon Cousins for doing a lot of that rewriting work and Roel Neeskens for helping out with that as well. Yeah, so who is this for? Really, it's for three audiences. So there are type designers like myself and maybe a lot of the people watching this video. There are, I think, web designers or graphic designers who may be building a website or changing a website and they just want to try different fonts really easily without having to get like a web developer involved in making prototypes. And then thirdly, readers of any kinds who might want to view the web in a font of their choosing. So yeah, the nice thing, I didn't show this yet, but it'll kind of like apply this override as you browse the web. So if we wanted to like Google grapheme, yeah, it works on Google, which is pretty cool. And maybe let's see what the BBC website says about this. You can just kind of browse the web with a font, and that's so powerful. So let's say you're a type designer and you want to, test out a certain font you're working on. So I find this, I mean, this is why it was made in the first place. I find this so useful because usually when you're designing type, you tend to get into this mode where you're like drawing the letters on a screen and they're maybe 2 to 6 inches tall the whole time, which is not how people experience your fonts in the end. Most of the people who see fonts these days are seeing them on a web browser or a phone. This doesn't really do a phone, but you could make it small if you want to. And yeah, they're reading the font rather than like admiring the letters at large scale. So what does it look like when the letters are at text size? Yeah, so let's like try it out and talk a little bit more about it. So let me refer to my notes. One thing that it does nicely is it picks up like bold and italic text. I'll tell you more about the italic in a minute. This isn't quite how it's supposed to look. But yeah, let's quickly try another font. So I'll try AT Curious. Let's do variable. And this is a fun one because the larger the font size, the narrower it gets. And this kind of shows us what that text font looks like. Yeah, we could also, for instance, customize the CSS to it. So, one thing you could do really easily is say like color all the text red, but that's not really useful. But it's really useful if you want to say like, I'm working on stylistic set 6. So how does that look in this font? Did that make a difference? Stylistic set might work better with a loaded in font. Let's try that out. So let me load in Curious variable. You can see I just drag and dropped it. You could also get a file upload from this. And yeah, you can now see so it does have some like caveats, right? Some things work better when you load in a font rather than just selecting from your font menu. And I'm kind of learning this in real time that stylistic sets are one of those things. Yeah, but right, this stylistic set kind of like applies more normal looking caps or uppercase, which is a sort of new in development feature for Curious. So it's really helpful to read this and just to see like, how does this feel? Yeah, are these all working together? And rather than it being some abstract conceptual exercise, I actually like get to, let me reload this page. Let's see if I can get this to work. So now it's blocking. Sometimes websites do block. Like GitHub also blocks font overrides a lot of the time. So that's something worth knowing about. It's a caveat. But for instance, my website allows me to look at this font and read it. I'm not going to show you my email, but sometimes I read my email in fonts so I can get a better sense of how they look. So you kind of have to try different things. But yeah, The Verge looks kind of cool with Curious. Shout out The Verge if you're watching this. Maybe you should use a black letter for everything. I don't know. But yeah, kind of fun to see that. Let's look at one other kind of deeper thing. Let's reset this, for instance. If you scroll down here, sometimes you have to scroll to get there. There's a reset button. It tells you, be careful, you're about to reset this. So let's activate this. And I think I mentioned this earlier. The italic doesn't quite look how it should for recursive. This is because Chrome browser doesn't fully support the italic or slant axes in variable fonts. I think they're working on it, and hopefully that's finally fixed in a few months. But for now, this is how it looks. So let's load in a different font. We have this override for kind of everything. And this override is specific to code, which can be useful if you're looking at, I don't know, CSS documentation or JavaScript library documentation, etc. So let's add a new font override, as I call it, and I'm going to, sure, let's add Chantel Sands italic specifically. And right now we've added it, and by default it just applies to everything, but let's only apply it to italics. So we can use CSS targeting selectors here. So I is a one possible thing that it might use, and you can actually see that it's picking up right here. It's doing a pretty good job of applying the italics in line. There are some areas in Wikipedia that don't use the I element. So we can actually like right click and say inspect. And then in the browser, this is kind of, this might be pretty new to you. And if so, um, I'm not going to tell you everything you need to know. But basically, if you're familiar with CSS writing, you're probably familiar with this. Anyway, you can inspect something and see like what classes it has. And then we can use that to actually target in Typex. So I'm going to say dot hat note, which will get us the class. You can see that it's applying here, but it's not yet applying to these. So we also need to say, comma, hat note A, and now that's applied well. So yeah, maybe we want to give these a little bit of bounce or a little extra weight. Yeah. So you can kind of see like how this is kind of interesting. Just to be a completionist, I'm gonna see what these have to be. I guess it's an I element with an anchor inside it. So I space A. Cool. And the purpose isn't really to fully be able to like see every possible web page perfectly set with your type. It's much more a fast and fun way to view the web in a font you're testing out, at least for the most part. There is, I think, hopefully some people out there that will appreciate this for getting to read their email or their news or their Wikipedia research in a certain font that they find easier to read or concentrate with. Um, but yeah, for the most part, it's really so that you as a font designer can like sit back and experience your typeface as a reader so that you can find new ways to improve it that would potentially be missed otherwise. So yeah, hopefully that's useful. Leave a comment if you found this interesting or if you've used Typex before. Um, if you're really feeling like going the extra mile, I would really appreciate some Typex reviews. Right now on the Chrome Web Store, it has like almost no reviews. Yeah, one review. Thank you, Dominic Stanley. But yeah, it would be probably great to have a few more reviews so people can see like, oh, this is legit. It's not out of nowhere. There are actually users who have found this useful. So um, I don't make any money from this extension. Google Fonts did financially support the original development and the latest development. I guess I'm hoping that by doing things like this that are useful to other people in the community, that maybe gives some good karma or I don't know, shows people what I can help with. And also, hopefully, this drives some like business to Roel Nieskins of Pixel Lombard and Simon Cousins. And yeah, the main thing is like the people building this wanted to use it. And we wanted others to benefit from it as well. So if that seems like you, please check it out and try it out and enjoy. Hope you're making something cool, whether it's a font or some other creative project. Hope you're doing well. Take care.